Most people in this world will never get there. Not because they can't, but because they're playing the wrong game. And today, I want to share with you 9 different habits that will truly build your wealth. And I really want you to pay attention to this, because it's not about getting rich. It's about freeing yourself from the constant need to earn money. So let's go. The first habit is this: build your life around freedom, not things. It took me years to learn this, but it completely changed my life. And I'm going to ask you a sincere question. When you think about money, what is it really for? Most people never stop to think about it, but they think money is for buying things. Money is for paying bills. Money is for improving your lifestyle. Money is for looking successful, perhaps. And certainly some of those things can be true. But what I really want is to change your perspective on the true purpose of money. What I want you to start thinking about, and which represented a major shift for me, is that money is for freedom, right? Money is for freedom. Money is for getting out of the rat race and reaching a point where you no longer need to play. This is called escape velocity. So, if you look at a rocket needs enough speed to break free from Earth's gravity, and that's called escape velocity. And this is exactly where most people get lost, because they spend their entire lives believing that the goal is to earn more just to spend more. They work more to trade up their car. They work more to live somewhere more expensive. They work more for better clothes, newer gadgets, pricier restaurants, more beautiful vacations to show others. And without realizing it, they fall into a silent trap. Every time income rises, the standard of living rises with it. And when that happens, the person even seems to be moving forward on the outside, but on the inside remains in the same place. Still dependent, still pressured, still waking up every day knowing they can't stop. That's the wrong game. Because true wealth doesn't begin when you buy more. It begins when you need less of your salary to sustain your life. Remember this well: freedom doesn't appear when you fill your life with things. Freedom appears when you build a life that doesn't demand so much to function. This changes everything, because from that moment on, every dollar left over stops being just a leftover. It becomes a seed. It becomes a brick. It becomes part of the bridge being built between the life you have today and the life you want to have tomorrow. Imagine 2 people. Both earn well. Both seem successful. Both work hard. But one of them spends almost everything that comes in because they feel they need to maintain an image. The other chooses to live intelligently, not to suffer, not to live limited, but to create space, financial space, mental space, space to breathe. Over time, the first person becomes a slave to their own appearance. The second begins to buy something far more valuable than any object. They buy time. And perhaps that is the most important point of all. Money, at its best use, buys time, buys peace of mind, buys choices, buys the ability to say no to what hurts your peace, buys the chance to not accept just any job out of desperation, buys the opportunity to rest without guilt, buys the dignity of living without constant fear of the next bill, the next problem, the next crisis. When I say that money should serve freedom, I'm saying it should work to take you out of the obligation of always living on the edge, because there is an enormous difference between having income and having independence. Many people have income, but don't have peace. Many people earn well, but can't stop even for a month without feeling panic. Many people seem to have everything, but live trapped in a machine that demands more and more effort just to maintain their own image. That is not wealth. That is exhaustion well dressed. Silent wealth is something else. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to impress. It doesn't depend on applause. It grows when you understand that money invested today can transform into income tomorrow. It grows when you trade the desire to seem rich for the decision to become free. It grows when you stop asking, "What can I buy with this?" and start asking, "What can this build for me in the future?" This is where the idea of escape velocity comes in. At the beginning of financial life, everything feels heavy. You work, receive, pay bills, deal with unexpected expenses, try to save something, but feel that almost nothing moves forward. And do you know why? Because financial gravity is strong. It pulls you down all the time. There are the daily obligations, immediate desires, social pressure, anxiety, comparison, temptations, the small luxuries that seem harmless but together steal your strength. To break free from this gravity, you need direction. You need discipline. You need consistency. A rocket doesn't break free from gravity because it made a beautiful effort for one day. It breaks free because it concentrates enough energy for enough time in the right direction. With money, it works the same way. You don't achieve financial freedom with fleeting enthusiasm. You achieve it with repeated decisions, with conscious spending, with consistent investments, with patience, with long-term vision, with the courage to give up applause now to gain autonomy later. And when this starts to happen, even slowly, something changes inside you. You stop living just to keep the machine running. You begin to realize that each investment made is a small part of your future freedom being built in silence. It's as if you were, little by little, assembling an invisible army. Each invested amount begins to work for you, without complaining, without rest, without emotion. And one day, that accumulated work begins to produce real results. First, there are small signs. A reserve that begins to provide security, an investment that grows without you needing to touch it, a month when you realize you're no longer as tight as before. Then comes something even stronger, the feeling that your life is not entirely in the hands of the next paycheck. And that, my friend, is worth more than many people imagine, because deep down, what people are seeking is not the car, not the purse, not the bigger house, not the expensive watch. What they are seeking is the feeling they believe those things will bring: security, respect, tranquility, freedom. Only that many times they look for all of this in the wrong place. They try to buy the feeling, but ignore the structure that truly sustains that feeling. That's why the first habit of those who truly build wealth is simple to understand, but powerful to live. Organize your life to be free, not to impress. Make money an instrument of exit, not of imprisonment. Stop seeing income growth as permission to increase your costs. Start seeing income growth as an opportunity to accelerate your freedom. Because when you understand this, the game changes. And when the game changes, life changes with it. The second habit is this: treat money as a tool, not as a final destination. And this seems simple to hear, but it completely changes the way a person lives, works, dreams, and makes decisions. Because many people spend their entire lives chasing money as if it were the definitive answer to everything. As if, upon reaching a certain number in the account, all problems would disappear, all anxiety would go away, and life would finally get on track. But the truth is that money alone doesn't create purpose, doesn't create peace, doesn't create character, doesn't create direction. Money only amplifies what already exists inside you. If a person lives in chaos, without clarity, without control, and without knowing what they really want, more money often only increases that chaos. They end up spending more, making more mistakes, getting more distracted, and even getting more lost. Now, when a person has vision, discipline, and knows what kind of life they want to build, money becomes an extraordinary tool. It stops being an idol and becomes an instrument, and that difference is enormous. Because one thing is to live serving money, another thing is to make money serve the life you want to live. Think about it. How many people say they want to earn more but never stop to define why? They talk about prospering, growing, getting rich, but don't know exactly what they're trying to build. They want more money, but don't have a clear image of the life they desire. And when you don't know where you're going, any amount that comes in can end up being wasted on choices that don't bring you closer to anything important. It's like receiving a powerful car without having a destination. You move fast, but you're still lost. That's why, before thinking about how much money you want to earn, perhaps the most important question is another one. What life do you want to live? Do you want more time with your family? Do you want to work with less pressure? Do you want the peace to sleep without the weight of debt? Do you want to be able to age with dignity? Do you want the freedom to better choose where you live, how you work, and with whom you share your days? Because when those answers become clear, money gains a function. It stops being just a number and starts having a mission. Perhaps you'll discover that you don't want a life of exaggerated luxury. Perhaps what you really want, in truth, is an organized, light, stable, and peaceful life. Perhaps you don't want to impress anyone. Perhaps you just don't want to live in financial strain. Don't want to live in fear. Don't want to depend on credit to survive. Don't want to feel your heart race every time an unexpected expense appears. And see how important this is. When you understand the life you desire, it becomes much easier to say no to expenses that make no sense and yes to decisions that build something solid. The problem is that many people reverse this order. First they chase money, then they try to figure out what to do with it, and in that reversal, they get lost. They buy what they don't need. They take on commitments they didn't want. They enter environments that don't match their values. They live trying to maintain an image that never brought true peace. All of this because they treated money as the final objective, when it should never occupy that place. Money is a hammer, not a house. It's a bridge, not a destination. It's fuel, not direction. It's useful, important, necessary, even powerful, but it needs to be in the right hands within you. It needs to be subordinate to the life vision you chose to build. Because without that, money starts commanding you. And when money commands, the person becomes a hostage of comparison, a hostage of status, a hostage of the rush to show results, a hostage of the fear of seeming lesser than others. Now think of the opposite. Imagine a person who has clearly defined what truly matters. They know they want peace before appearance. They know they want stability before applause. They know they want freedom before luxury. This person begins to use money in a completely different way. Every financial decision gets evaluated with one very simple question. Does this bring me closer to, or take me further from the life I want to live? And that question alone already prevents many mistakes. Because there are expenses that bring pleasure for a day and take away peace of mind for years. There are purchases that seem like a reward but transform into a prison. There are choices that seem like progress but only increase the pressure. When you learn to treat money as a tool, you begin to see all of this with more clarity. You stop seeking in consumption what can only be built with purpose. And you stop expecting money to cure voids that, in reality, require direction, maturity, and awareness. And here is a truth that few people like to face. Money doesn't automatically make you a better person. It reveals priorities. It amplifies habits. It exposes weaknesses. If you're impulsive with little, you might be even more impulsive with a lot. If you're disorganized with little, you can cause greater damage with a lot. If you live trying to prove your worth to others, more money may simply finance a more expensive version of the same insecurity. That's why truly getting rich is not just about increasing income, it's about maturing along with it. That's why the right path doesn't begin in the bank account. It begins in the mind. It begins with clarity. It begins when you look at your own life and say, this is what I want to build. This is the peace I want to feel. This is the freedom I want to achieve. And then, yes, money enters as an ally, as a construction tool, as a resource to build a life that makes sense for you, and not a showcase to feed the eyes of others. When you understand this, everything changes. Earning more stops being an empty end and becomes part of a larger plan. Investing stops seeming like sacrifice and starts seeming like strategy. Saving stops feeling like a limitation and becomes an intelligent choice. And money, which before seemed like a demanding master, finally becomes what it should have always been: a servant of your vision, not the owner of your soul. The third habit is this: automate your investments before you even see the money. And this may seem like a technical detail, something small, almost without emotion. But the truth is that this simple decision separates those who merely wish to build wealth from those who actually build it. Because many people say they will invest when there's something left over, only that there's almost never anything left over. And there's nothing left over because money, when it hits the account, already arrives surrounded by voices. One voice says you deserve to treat yourself because you worked hard. Another says that expense is small and won't make a difference. Another reminds you of a pending bill, a sale, an old desire, an impulsive purchase. And when the person realizes it, the month is over, the money is gone, and the investment was once again left for later. That's the problem with relying solely on emotional discipline. Discipline is important, of course, but it fails when it's tired, pressured, or surrounded by temptations. No one makes good decisions all the time. There are days when you are strong, focused, determined. But there are also days when you are exhausted, irritated, anxious, just wanting to clear your head. And it's precisely on those days that money slips through your fingers. That's why those who want to build silent wealth learn a powerful lesson. Don't let your future depend on your mood. Automating the investment means making one good decision a single time and allowing it to keep happening on its own, month after month. Instead of waiting until the end of the month to see if there's any leftover, you reverse the order. First, you pay your future, then you organize the rest of your life with what's left. This change seems small on the outside, but on the inside, it completely changes the game. Because at that moment, investing stops being an effort that competes with your daily desires and becomes a fixed structure of your financial life. Think of a person who receives their salary, and on the same day or the next day, a portion of that amount is automatically sent to the investment account. They don't need to remember, don't need to negotiate with themselves, don't need to decide again. Don't need to face the old internal conversation of, I'll start this month, or just this once I'll make up for it next month. The decision was already made calmly, with clarity, when the mind was in the right place. And that protects the person from themselves. Many people underestimate the power of this because they think getting rich always depends on big moves. But most of the time, real wealth is born from simple systems repeated for a long time. It's not the enthusiasm of 1 month that changes financial life. It's the consistency of years. And automation is a way to ensure that consistency continues to exist even when motivation diminishes. Because the truth is this: motivation comes and goes. Systems remain. When you automate your investments, something beautiful and silent happens. The wealth begins to grow behind the scenes, without applause, without dramatic effort, without you needing to turn each month into a mental battle. And this greatly reduces the space for excuses, because excuses always appear when the decision is still open. Not today. This month was different. I'll look at that next week. Now is not the time. But when the amount has already gone out automatically, the building happens even in imperfect months, and that is tremendously powerful. Another important thing is that automation teaches you to live with what is truly available, not with everything that comes in. This is financial maturity, because many people get used to looking at the full balance right after payday and feel the false impression that they can do more than they really can. Automation corrects this illusion. It removes first the part that belongs to your future. So the amount that remains in the account is already the real value of your current life. This brings clarity, brings limits, brings order. And we're not just talking about large amounts. That is another common mistake. Many people think it's only worth automating when they can invest a lot. No, the amount can start small. What's important at the beginning is not to impress anyone with enormous sums. It's to train the behavior. It's to create the path. It's to transform investing into a natural habit of your life, like paying an essential bill. Because once that habit is firm, increasing it over time becomes much easier. In practice, automating investments is like planting a tree without having to dig the ground again every month. You prepare the soil once, position the seed, and take care to let the process continue. Over time, what seems small begins to grow roots. And the roots don't appear immediately. They grow in the dark, in silence, out of sight. This is exactly how wealth is formed. Before appearing in large numbers, it strengthens itself in invisible routine, in quiet repetition, in the commitment that continues even when no one is watching. And you know what's most interesting? When you do this for a few months, something changes inside you. You stop feeling like someone who tries to invest and start seeing yourself as someone who invests. This shift in identity is enormous because your decisions start coming from a new pattern. You're no longer improvising, you're building. You're no longer just hoping for something to be left over. You're ensuring that a part of your money works for you before the world has a chance to capture it. This third habit teaches a simple but transformative truth. The future is not built only with good intentions. It is built with mechanisms that work even on ordinary days. And those who understand this stop depending on willpower as their only strategy. Instead, they create a system that protects their goals, respects their plans, and makes progress happen in the background, without noise, without emotion, and without excuses. The fourth habit is this: live below your income level, especially when you start earning more. This is one of the most important points of wealth building because many people believe that growing financially means increasing their lifestyle at the same instant. They earn more and immediately trade up their car. They earn more and immediately look for a more expensive home. They earn more and immediately fill their routine with new expenses, new subscriptions, new installments, and new comforts that seem small on their own, but together consume everything. And this is where progress dies, because when every extra income becomes extra spending, the person stays in the same place. They work more, earn more, but never feel real advancement, never feel ease, never feel peace. They just increase the size of the life they need to sustain. From the outside, it looks like evolution. From the inside, it's still dependence. Silent wealth is born exactly in the space between what comes in and what goes out. It's in that space that freedom lives. It's in that space that investment lives. It's in that space that the chance to build something solid for the future lives. If that space disappears, wealth disappears too. That's why, every time your income increases, don't immediately think about how to raise your standard of living. Think first about how to increase your margin. Think about how much of that new income can be directed toward investments, reserves, security, and independence. Because the true sign of growth is not spending better, it's accumulating more financial strength. Those who understand this stop using a salary increase as an excuse to raise costs and start using that increase as an accelerator of freedom. And that decision, repeated over the years, completely changes the destiny of a person. The fifth habit is this: stop comparing yourself, especially to what social media shows every day. This is a silent mistake that destroys many financial lives without the person even noticing. Because when someone spends too much time looking at other people's showcase, they start to feel that they're falling behind, that they need to rush to reach a standard that might not even make sense for their own reality. But there is a truth you need to hold on to. People show consumption. They don't show wealth. They show the trip, but not the debt. They show the car, but not the installment payment. They show the clothes, the restaurant, the beautiful photo, the eye-catching moment, but almost never show the pressure, the anxiety, and the lack of structure behind that image. And the problem starts when you compare your real life with the best edited moment of someone else. That's where the rush to spend arises, just to seem like you're winning too. The person buys not because they need to. They buy because they want to feel at the same level. They spend not because it improves their life. They spend because they want to relieve the feeling of being left behind. Only that path is dangerous because it pushes you away from freedom and back into the prison of appearance. Those who build silent wealth understand they don't need to compete with anyone's showcase. They understand that the focus is not to seem advanced, but to truly advance. And many times truly advancing looks simple, discreet, and even unexciting to the eyes of others. Only that in the future, it's precisely that simplicity that buys peace. So, protect your mind. Not everything that shines is wealth. Not everything that draws attention is prosperity. And not every appearance of success means security. Stop measuring your life by other people's image and start measuring it by the progress of your own construction. That's how tranquility grows. The sixth habit is this: track every amount that leaves your pocket. Because without clarity, there is no real control. Many people say they can't save money, but have never honestly stopped to observe where it's going. And almost always the problem is not only in the big bills, it's in the small recurring leaks every day. It's the coffee bought on impulse, the forgotten subscription, the order placed without thinking, the quick purchase that seems cheap but repeats itself so many times that by the end of the month it becomes a hole. Alone, these expenses seem harmless, but together they steal the money that could be forming reserves, investments, and peace of mind. Tracking your expenses is not living trapped by money. It's precisely the opposite. It's looking reality in the face so as not to be controlled by it. When you know where every amount is going, you begin to notice what makes sense and what is simply consuming your income without bringing any real benefit. And from there, everything changes, because you stop spending on autopilot and start acting with intention. And when there is intention, more strength is left to build wealth. The seventh habit is this: track your net worth consistently, not to become an obsession, but to gain clarity. Because those who want to truly build wealth need to stop looking only at income and start looking at what is really accumulating. Net worth is what you have minus what you owe. It's that number that shows whether your financial life is getting stronger or just getting more expensive. Many people earn well but accumulate little. Others, even without an extraordinary income, manage to grow because they track progress carefully. And that makes a difference, because what you measure tends to improve. When you observe your numbers frequently, you start to notice whether you're advancing, standing still, or going backward. Moreover, seeing this growth even when slow brings motivation. It removes the feeling that all effort is disappearing and puts in its place a sense of real construction. You understand that you're not just working to pay bills, you're building a net worth little by little with steadiness and direction. The eighth habit is this: separate your self-esteem from money. This is essential because many people begin to seek income not just out of necessity or for freedom, but to prove their worth. They want to show they succeeded. They want to be admired. They want to feel they are worth more by earning more. And when this happens, money stops being a tool and becomes identity. The problem is that when your self-esteem depends on your income, your decisions become dangerous. You start spending to feel important. You start accepting unnecessary pressures just to maintain an image. You even start measuring your own worth by the account balance. And that never brings peace, because there will always be someone earning more, showing more, and appearing to have more. Those who build silent wealth understand one very important thing. Money can increase comfort, can create opportunities, can bring security, but it doesn't define who you are. Your worth doesn't rise or fall with your earnings. When that separation happens, you start acting with more calm, more strategy, and less need for approval. And it's precisely there that decisions improve, because you stop acting to impress and start acting to build. You stop chasing status and start chasing stability. And that change from within strengthens everything being built from without. The ninth habit is this: think in decades, not in days. This is one of the strongest differences between those who merely wish to get rich and those who truly build silent wealth. Most people want quick results. They want to see immediate change. They want to plant today and harvest tomorrow. But financial freedom almost never works that way. Real wealth tends to grow slowly, constantly, and discreetly. It's born from repeated choices, from investments made with patience, and from the ability to continue even when the results still seem small, because time, when working alongside discipline, transforms into a powerful force. Those who think only about the present live chasing shortcuts. Those who think in decades accept the process. They understand that each amount invested today is not just increasing a number, but building a safer, lighter, and freer future life. And that vision changes everything, because it helps you trade immediate pleasures for lasting achievements. In the end, the great reward is not seeming to have won quickly. It's reaching a point in life where you have peace, stability, and choice. And that is worth far more than any momentary improvement in lifestyle.